So this guy is supposed to be a hard thrower, flamethrower. You know, he want to intimidate people, but he's this bony little skinny kid. You're not going to intimidate me because if I come up there, I'm going to break you in half. So that's basically how I was looking at it.
I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top. Keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up. I'm coming up. The good life. Good life. Oh, good life. Good life. Good life.
Back at it, Chinch.
Yes.
Back at it, my man. Yes, dude.
With one of
yes.
the greatest. The
This
greatest.
is gonna be a good one this week, man. One of my buddies, one of my favorite teammates of all time. Played with him out there in Detroit in 2007. Let me just break it down really quick, and I'm gonna throw you some. I don't think we have enough time. It would be an hour show talking about this guy's accolades, okay? Let me just go down some of them, though, because it's unbelievable. He was a sixth pick of the draft in 86, first round by the Brewers. Going down his stats, 292 career hitter, almost 2,700 hits, 509 home runs, right? Played for the Brewers, Padres, Marlins, Dodgers, Braves, all that stuff, Yankees, Tigers, Mets. 9-time All-Star. 97 World Series champion with the Marlins, 5-time Silver Slugger, won the NL batting title in 92. And what was so significant there was Gwynn was the only other guy to win all those titles with the Padres. 100 RBIs with 5 different teams, only player in big league history. This is the stat for me being a big league player, dude. Topped only 80 strikeouts twice in 22 seasons, bro. This guy never struck. It's unbelievable, dude. It's unbelievable. 8 seasons, 30-plus homers, and holds the record for most MLB parks played in at 51. Let's bring him in. We could keep going all day long, but let's bring him in and ask him what it was like. Let's bring in one of the best players of all time, one of my favorite teammates, Gary Sheffield. Yeah. What's up, Sheff?
What's up, man? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude.
Run out of breath.
Hey, you know me, Sheff. I almost did. I almost went into cardiac arrest right there. Hey, Sheff, first off, man, how's everything going, bro? What's going on? What's going on in the life of Gary Sheffield right now?
Hey, man, well, life is wonderful, man. I got my boys going to college. I have my son at Georgetown. I have another one, got a full ride to Florida State. And my youngest, he get to call his own shots. And so, you know, I have one at, you know, down here in Florida going to college. You know, there's a lot of great things going on. I got my travel ball team that I get to coach my own boys so we can coach them the correct way and give them the things that they need. And so, you know, my day was up. I turned my attention to just focusing on my kids' careers and what they want to pursue. And whatever that is, I try to get behind them.
Stay there, Sheff, for a second, man, because like I can only imagine having Gary Sheffield as my coach in those in those primitive years where, like, you know, hey, listen, you're forming yourself as a man. What's the biggest advice you're telling these guys? First off, how to be a man, and second off, baseball wise.
Well, I told them the first thing I always tell every kid that when you respect the game, it'll respect you back, and you play the game the right way. You know, stop playing for stats. Stop playing, you know, everybody's a shortstop. Everybody's a third place hitter because, you know, everybody is not a shortstop and everybody's not a third place hitter because taking on those, you know, responsibilities, you have to be careful because, you know, you may see a guy that hit third go 0 for 4 and a guy hit 8 go 4 for 4. And that guy hit 8 think he should be hitting third. Well, when they find one, I say, okay, I'm going to give you your medicine you asked for. So I put him third. And they wind up, they get pitched different, and then next thing you know, they over 40.
That's so true. So true. You're like, hey, you're not going to see as many heaters in the 8th spot. We're going to start seeing some sliders, some changeups.
You don't see fastballs. And then all of a sudden, never throws me a fastball. I want to go back to 8. Sure, coach.
That's so great, man. That's so great. Oh, that's so great. Sheff, so I want to turn back the clock a little bit with you because you're obviously in a different role now, man, just kind of the same role I'm in. You know, coaching my kids. Both of my sons are playing. One's at University of Dayton, one's at Kent State, so kind of coached them and watched them go off to college and enjoying that now. But, like, man, I like to look back at some of the people that influenced me growing up, and you know, your story is an interesting one, brother, because you grew up in Tampa, and you know, your whole family's down there, and Doc Gooden is your uncle, but Doc's only 4 years older than you, so it's like almost like you guys are cousins, kind of. Right. Can you talk about what that was like growing up down there, and especially being having your uncle be one of the greatest pitchers of all time at the beginning of his career, and you know, what were those wiffle ball games like?
Pure hell.
Pure hell. I love it.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this, Case. You know, my life is a movie, man. If you really break down my life, it's a movie. And if I take you back to my childhood, how I got my last name, all these things, it's a movie. And so nobody would believe me. And so, you know, growing up with Doc, he was always that special kid and dominating the neighborhood, dominating this area. And I was that young pup, the only one that can catch him, because I had to go through hell to learn how to catch him, because, you know, if I miss the ball, I'm getting beat up. So, you know, I got bullied into learning how to play baseball. So that's pretty much how it went. So, you know, it was just one of those things where I didn't appreciate it then, but I appreciate it now that I look back at it. He was only trying to make me better. He was trying to make me become the player that he was always bragging on, that I was going to be better than him. And I never believed it. It was just one of those things that just young, innocent kids playing football, baseball, basketball on an everyday basis, all day basis, barely coming in the house to eat. We'd take a sip or drink here and there of water or whatever, Gatorade, and we're back at it. So, you know, that whole process for me was just, eye-watering.
What was it like when you grew up with Doc, Sheff? You know, he was in the big leagues at what, 19, 20 years old? I mean, throwing fuel. I almost look back. I think Doc had to be upper 90s, 100. If you're talking about the guns nowadays, I mean, he probably was at 102. So did you think that was normal? Like growing up, you're like, oh yeah, I'm facing. Like, did you have any idea that you were facing one of what will be one of the best in the game?
Well, it was normal for him. But when we was facing him, everybody knew, you know, stand down, this the man. And, you know, it was just one of those things where he's always been that special baseball player, that special pitcher. You know, nobody knows. He used to switch hit. He can hit right-handed or left-handed. And, you know, how he got discovered, it was a game at University of South Florida, and I was at the game, and it was probably 20, 30 scouts out there to see Vance Lovelace pitch. And Vance Lovelace, he had walked like the first three hitters. And Dwight, he was playing right field. Nobody knew who he was. And they had Floyd Yeoman on that team as well. So Vance Lovelace was the ace. Floyd Yeoman was the second starter. And Dwight was the third starter. So barely pitched. You know, you got 20 high school games, so you're really not going to pitch that much.
Oh, my God.
So all the scouts got up when Vance got pulled out of the game in the first inning. And I remember our coach, legendary Coach Reed, God bless the dead, threw out his right arm to call in Dwight to come in and pitch. And Dwight ran in, and my granddad was there, you know, and we all been waiting on this moment forever. And we just needed the right thing to happen. And it happened on that day. He just stepped on the mound. The first pitch he threw it 95. So the scouts... And the first thing they did was they looked back and they heard the mitt popping. So the next thing you know, they come back and they set their machines back up and pulled out the jug gun The next one was 96. And he never dipped below 95. So he came in when the hitters came up there. He struck out the side without giving up a run. And then he went on to strike out 16 that day.
Wow.
And that's covered.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he was the number 3 starter on that team.
That's crazy.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, like, Sheff, you growing up during that time, with Doc in the neighborhood and all your whole family, like, what are some of the lessons that you learned, coming forward, especially if there was any adversity there? What were some of the things that you brought with you into pro ball, but also, still with you now as the man you are today?
Well, you have to do it the right way. You have to work hard, no shortcuts. Nothing is going to be given to you, and never take anything for granted. It could be your last game, your last ball you ever throw. All of those things come into play. Most important, you have to be a good teammate and good person. And that's the thing that we prided ourselves on, being a good person. Now, people that don't know us can hear a lot of stories and make a lot of assumptions, and it's all subjective. But when it comes down to people that really know you, they can speak for you and your character and things like that. Because, in today's society, people try to throw around people's character a lot and try to damage their character when they don't know that person. And so, that's why I rely on teammates to speak for me, because when it, in the locker room, how I was in the locker, and I was that way in every locker I was. So it's hard not to get along with me because I get along with everybody.
It's funny you said that, bro. I was telling Rich before we came on. I said, bro, one of my favorite teammates of all time, one of the most loyal teammates I've ever had. Like, it was the one of the safest I've ever felt in my life. At least I know Sheff's got my back. If shit goes sideways, I know I got Sheff right next to me. We're gonna be okay. You know what I mean?
You best to believe it.
But I it's funny you said that, bro, because I think people that don't necessarily know Gary Sheffield might think, oh man, this guy is arrogant and this guy's this and that. I'm like, no. You got it totally backwards. If you don't know Gary Sheffield, this guy's one of the best teammates everyone's ever had, and he's loyal. He plays hard, works hard. So, I always appreciated that about you, Sheff. I'm serious. Yeah. And I know, like you talked about Jason Grilly and a lot of the guys that play with you, man, guys that were in that clubhouse with you, they know what you brought to all of us, and we appreciated that, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, and that's what it's all about, Case. The thing is about relationships that you have with guys that you're going out there for 8 months a year, hopefully you get the playoff and World Series, and you go to battle with. And you have to see each other every single day, and every day ain't a good day for you. You don't know what a person's going through. Like I tell people all the time, that nobody knows what I go through in life. But, when you have writers, when they ask you questions, they may ask you a question, but they're talking at me and attackful, questions. And then that's what you get back, because I'm a fighter at heart. I fight through anything, whether I'm losing or winning, I'm a fight. And so that's just all I know.
Yeah, and Sheff, what Case was just saying, like, in the media people were the ones that said, oh, Sheffield, in the locker room, every single player that has ever walked into a studio was like, Gary Sheffield is the best teammate I've ever had. Seriously, that I've ever talked to. I'm not kidding. And
That's the biggest contradiction, ain't it?
Isn't it? It's crazy. I've worked in this industry for over 20 years. I've never met a baseball player who never said you weren't the best player. So was there anybody in the media that you trusted? Because you had a right not to trust any of them when you were playing.
Well, trust is a different scenario than allowing them to do their job. Because I remember Eddie Murray didn't talk to the press. I remember Sterling Sharp was a Green Bay Packer when I was a Milwaukee Brewer, and he didn't talk to the press, and I talked all the time. And so I was always told, allow people to do their job, and they'll do their job the right way towards you. And that didn't happen in my case. I was on 8 different teams. You would think that going into the Hall of Fame and being in situations where I've been in front of all of these guys that saw me play on an everyday basis and got to cover me on an everyday basis will understand that none of these things are true. It's just that you have these beat writers that come in maybe every blue moon, and they come at you on an attackful way, and then it's not a good interview, or something comes out of it where it's like a back and forth, and that one guy can change the perception of many.
Sheff, do you think with right now you sitting at Cooperstown, first off, it's an absolute crying shame Gary Sheffield isn't in Cooperstown yet, but that's hopefully that'll happen here soon. But your numbers continue to climb at 40.6% now with 2 years left, and it looks like the new writers are coming in for voting and things like that. It seems like people are starting to look more and more at the numbers. Do you feel like these last couple years of yourself on the ballot that would help you, as far as getting in? And also, would it bother you to not get into Cooperstown in these next 2 years?
Well, I think it just started raising my temperature at this point, because when it started affecting your family, that's when it gets personal. The bottom line is I really didn't play to make the Hall of Fame. I played the game because I love the game. And once you start playing the game and start achieving things, then you start getting bigger goals and bigger dreams. And that's how we got to that point. But when it comes to, my family, my kids are playing the game and they want to be a Major League Baseball player one day, if God is willing, that means something to them. And whatever something means to your kids and your family, it means something to you. And so I would never be one of these players say, I don't want to be in the Hall of Fame. That it's okay whatever they do. No, it's not okay, because the bottom line is you're relying on writers to do the right thing. And as a player, I put in the work. I put in 22 years. A lot of people can't say that. And I still have the numbers, and I've done things that nobody's ever done. So I look at this as the same thing of why I wasn't a 4-time, 5-time MVP. So when you really look at my numbers, I should have 4 or 5 MVPs, because how can you be player of the year and the players vote in both leagues, the player of the year, and never win an MVP? And so if I'm going for a triple crown and the last day of the season, why can't I be MVP? So I got a lot of things to say about that, because, you look at guys like Arod, he got the MVP on a last place team. You look at a lot of scenarios with me. They kept moving the goalposts. When I was Triple Crown in '92, the first thing they told me, well, Barry Bonds won because he had more stolen bases. Well, Barry Bonds ain't lead the league in hitting either. You know what I mean? So, and Barry Bonds ain't have, at that time, I had 36 strikeouts. So when in my triple crown season, I had 33 home runs and almost 36 or 37 strikeouts. So, and 14 errors at third base. So that's when I started looking at, is this award really that special? Because if you look at Mike Trout, you look at Bryce Harper, and you look at their MVP seasons, I got 10 seasons that was better than those.
Wow.
So when you really break things down and look at it for what it's worth, while guys are hitting 300, hitting 30 home runs, driving on 100, I was doing that, also scoring 100 and walking 168, 150 times.
Yeah.
So you can spin it how you want, but the facts are what they are. Then they try to define something that they try to claim that you wasn't good at, and that's defense. Well, when you look at my defense, it wasn't that I wasn't great at defense. I caught what was hit to me. And the bottom line was, I'm a shortstop. I'm a natural shortstop. So the goal was, from day one, is to move me off of my position to go over and battle third baseman who's supposed to hit 30 home runs, then move to the outfield with guys who's supposed to hit 50 and 60 home runs. And I still stood my ground and playing a position that I wasn't supposed to be playing, because if they would have left me at shortstop, you would probably be saying me and Arod is 1 and 2 all the time.
Wow, that's a great point, man. I never even thought about that. You're exactly right. You came up as a shortstop, played your first few years at third base, then all of a sudden we're an outfielder. And you're right. Those numbers, if you're a shortstop, bro, it's first ballot. Here we go. One of the greatest shortstops of all time.
Exactly. And that's the point I make. And the thing is that I changed position being a good teammate, because I remember the time that Milwaukee Brewers had a 250 hitter, and that then Bill Spires, they tried to move me to third base for it. Well, he's not good enough for me to move. And so the thing is that I wind up doing it unwillingly, but I did it. And then you don't get credit for that. Then all of a sudden, being a team player, I moved to the outfield to accommodate Dave Magadan coming back to the Florida Marlins. So you don't get credit for that. So it's like, when you're damn if you do, you're damn if you don't. See, when I resisted moving positions, I got bad press. When I did it willingly, they said it, oh, he did it because he can't play the position. So I couldn't win.
Right. It was a lose-lose situation.
Basically.
Yeah. Sheff, when you look back at your career, bro, and the thing that I admired about your career, especially when you go look at the numbers, and that's what I'd say. Like, listen, you got to really look at your numbers and go, we're talking about one of the greatest players of all time here. When you break it down, I know for me personally, I played 11, 12 years in the big leagues. I just know how hard it was to put up 2 or 3 good years, really exceptional years. When I look at your numbers, dude, it's really phenomenal, the years that you put up. The consistency of Gary Sheffield was phenomenal. And I was talking about the one stat early on was you had 1,475 walks and 1,171 Ks. You walked 304 more times than you punched out. Which is unheard of nowadays, dude. Guys are punching out 200 times nowadays, and everyone's like, hey, that's no big deal. He's got an OPS of 860. I was like, I don't give a shit. The guy's punching out 200 times a year. And what's he going to do in the postseason against good pitching? You know what I mean? So can you take us through that a little bit, bro, about your approach night in and night out, and how you were so consistent in not punching out 100 times, hitting close to 300 every year, 30 home runs? What was your approach at the plate?
Well, I'm going to say this. I'll start with my senior year in high school. And everybody talk about, Tino Martinez, Luis Gonzalez, and I played against those guys. And my whole goal was to break all of Tino Martinez's records. And I did that in high school. I hit 15 home runs in 20 games. And I had 90 at-bats with 30 walks and 30 hits. And I had 30 RBIs and I hit 500. So when people say that hit 500 don't mean nothing, I was doing this since I was 8. So don't tell me I wasn't the best player in my class forever. And so everything I did in the major leagues, it was predicted when I was 8 years old, because that's what I was supposed to do. My approach is I hit to the scoreboard. I don't play for stats. So that's why numbers are subjective. You can make Arod, you can say he's a better player than me based on numbers. But if you want to talk about a baseball player and you talk about breaking it all down like an Arod, you talk about a Barry Bonds, you talk about a Manny Ramirez, you talk about Big Papi, you break all these guys down. But when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, all the way across the board, strikeout, runs scored, stolen bases, everything across the board, multiple positions, I'm there with the Barry Bonds. It's when you speak about baseball. You can try to speak about me in a lower term because you try to make numbers so this and base it on that. But a lot of times where guys got these big numbers, they don't win a championship. And you can see that. And the bottom line is, when you look at a player like me, I give a team everything that they need. And from the third spot, I've been hitting third since I've been 8 years old. And nobody has ever dethroned me from hitting third. Joe Torre tried to do it with the Yankees, and it ain't go so well for him when he did. Because
is that when he put Arod at third? Is that when he
put Arod at third, and you found out who was the guy? And
Yeah.
he found out who was the guy real quick. And I told him that to his face, and he thought it was an arrogant statement. But I told him, no, it's not an arrogant statement. It's a fact. Because Jeter got off to a bad start. Arod got off to a bad start. And me and Matsui was carrying the team. And I went in Joe Torre's office, and I told him, you're the reason why we're losing. And I said, he told me, what do you mean? I said, because you got our lineup out of order. And he said, well, what are we going to do with Arod? I said, put him in front of me hitting second and hit me third, and we'll win. And that's when we took off.
Oh yeah, no, I remember those times. Sheff, it's funny because when I look back at your career, and just as back as a player and playing with you and stuff like that, you always hit good pitching. There wasn't, you couldn't bring in a closer that you could bring in a guy with a bazooka, and Gary Sheffield would somehow turn it around. It was unbelievable. Like, can you talk about that as far as your mentality goes about facing the best of the best? It seemed like your game went to another level.
Well, it goes back to your first question of what was my approach. It was simple. I look fastball and adjust. I make you pitch in the box, and I don't go out that box. I may go out of it sometimes. You may have good days, bad days, or how you feel. And, you know the game, Case. Your leg can be hurt one day, your finger can hurt the next, your elbow can hurt the next, and your shoulder hurt the next. So you try to make up the deficit on your approach of hitting based on how you feeling that day. And if I can't sit down on my backside, then I become a front foot hitter. If I feel good with my legs, I stay on my backside. So my thing is that no matter what the count was, I always approach it like a 0-0 count. And once the ball is thrown and it's a ball one or a strike one, I approach it like it's a 3-2 count. And so now it's either you or me. You got to either throw the strike or I'm going to take the ball. And if you don't, and I just force pitchers to make me swing. I'm ready to swing, but you have to make me swing. And that was my approach.
Wow. Okay, sorry.
Did you have a 2-strike approach?
My 2-strike approach was the easiest approach I ever had because it's like, I know you're not going to strike me out. And so now the bottom line is every time I get 3-2 count or 2 strikes on me, I'm saying to myself, you got to throw a strike. And you still have to throw a strike. And I'm not going to swing at a ball because I know that you're not going to throw me a ball down the middle of the plate with 2 strikes. So I work my way back into the count with 3-2, and then I get my pitch and then I do what I do.
Wow. And Sheff,
I'm not a panic hitter. I'm a relaxed hitter all through that bat.
Wow. But also, your generation, when you guys played, maybe had some of the most intimidating pitchers of all time. Like Clemens was pitching, Pedro.
Yeah.
I'm a lifelong Yankee fan, man. When Pedro hit you that one day and you said, not me.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, that was one of the greatest things. You're one of the Yankee fans consider you one of the greatest Yankees of all time. Even I'm not kidding, bro. And you dominate. I said to Case right before, I'm like, Matsui and Sheff were the guys you wanted up back then. Sorry, that's just my fandom there. But in the grand scheme of things, facing those Pedros and facing those Clemens, you kind of flipped the switch, and you were more intimidating in a box than any pitcher that ever faced you. Did you take that approach seriously on purpose?
Absolutely. That's why I tell people all the time, people got to be careful when they're talking to other players and great players about other great players. They may be great to you and they may be great to my other teammates, but they ain't great to me. And so my granddad always taught me to own that batter's box, no matter who's out there, whether it's Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, or whatever. The first day I ever faced Roger Clemens, I had 4 hits. And so the only guy that I can really honestly say to you is 2 guys, Dave Stewart and Nolan Ryan, is the only 2 guys I really had a little fear of. That I was like shaking in my pants, but when I faced him, because number one, I couldn't see Dave Stewart's eyes when he pitched. He had his cap so I couldn't really figure that out. And Nolan Ryan was just Nolan Ryan, And so I remember facing Nolan Ryan on opening day against the Rangers, and he threw me a fastball, and I hit it out of the stadium. Not out of in foul territory. I hit it out of the stadium over our dugout. at third base. And he didn't like that too much. So the next pitch was behind my head. And I dove forward and I thought I was dead. And so the next pitch he threw me, I hit a foul home run to left field, and he didn't like that too much. And then he threw under my chin, and I dove back and thought I was dead. So I died twice in one at bat. So the next pitch he threw me a curveball, and I hit it off the wall, and I slid in for a double, and I got up to pump my fist, and he was standing right there, and I stopped right at and he tipped his cap to me. And when he tipped his cap to me, that's what I got all the respect from him that day. And that's when, like, if Nolan Ryan and I can get past Dave Stewart of the intimidation, nobody can bother me.
Wow, dude! No, when you got, what's so funny, when you got thrown behind by Nolan and then brushed back, still no fear, or you're like, I'm coming for you? No fear, because I come from the hood. Yeah. I come from the hood. We don't make a whole lot of money in the hood, so this it's game on now. You know, to be honest with you, Case, I tell people all the time, they don't believe me. I was willing to die for that cause. You know, you hit me in the head, I'll stand right in there. Let's get it. It's nothing to me. And that's just the way I approach it. So when guys threw inside, people always wonder how I can come back and hit home runs off these guys. My coaches used to always say, when guys come in on you, it does something to you and you just lock in. I say, because see, that just get my blood boiling right there. And dude, do you remember that one time in 2007 in Detroit with Cabrera? Remember that young kid, Daniel Cabrera? I can't remember. Can you tell us what happened there, Sheff? It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my career. What do you remember that? Yeah, I remember it. I remember all of them. so this guy is supposed to be a hard thrower, flamethrower. You know, he want to intimidate people, but he's this bony little skinny kid. You're not going to intimidate me because if I come up there, I'm going to break you in half. So that's basically how I was looking at it. So he threw in on me because, he threw in on me and I looked at him and I said, all right, now that was a little close. Now you want to throw at me, you better throw below my waist and above my, below my chest. I said, you better throw below my chest. And he was like, get back in the box. I say, I will. Give me a minute. And you ain't going to like it when I get in there. We're talking while the at-bat is going on. I remember. Then he tried to go to 97 and try to throw it by me, and I must have hit the tiger up there. and when I hit the ball, I looked dead in his dugout, and I started walking and looking in his dugout, and I'm like, the exact words, I'm like, I'm not the one to be fucked up with. Yes. And that's what I said. And then when he looked at me and I ran around the base, I'm looking at him, and he getting upset at me. But what is he going to do? Dude, I remember that. It was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Like, we were all in the dugout, and I remember thinking, this young kid know what he's doing? Like, I don't care. That's why I said you could bring a rocket launcher, face carry Sheffield. You're not throwing it past him. And sure enough, you're not intimidating him. If Nolan Ryan can't do it, you ain't doing it, and you're tired of it. You know what I mean? And then... But then it was, then you homered, and I remember you kind of like walked out. I was like, we were going nuts, and I remember Comerica was going crazy. But then the benches cleared. Yeah. Right. And then I a side of Gary Sheffield that was from the hood. I was like, boy, Sheff is going after this guy with a vengeance. Well, the thing is that he hit me every time he faced me. And this particular time I said, because Jim Leland came to me and said, Gary, don't do anything. Don't do anything. I said, Skip, he hit me with this ball again. I'm going to go up there and I'm going to break his arm. I promise you. He's like, Gary, don't do that. Don't do that. Just go to the first base. I said, okay, I'll do it for you, Skip. And so he hits me first at bat because he threw me a pitch and I hit it foul, a home run. So he figured I ain't going to play with him today. I'm going to just hit it. So he hits me. So I walked down the base staring at his eyes, and if he would say one word, I was coming. So I just stared at him. So I get to first base. I'm already 38 years old. I ain't stealing no base.
And so he threw over to first base, and I told him to throw the fucking ball to the home plate. You had your chance to get me out. You know what I mean? And he said something, and that's when I went.
Oh, that was awesome. That was awesome.
So I wanted him so bad.
Oh my gosh, man. That was great, dude. I appreciate that because that was one of the greatest. I still tell that story now in 2022. I'm like, let me tell you this Gary Sheffield story. It's unbelievable. 15 years ago. So, hey, you talked about Leland and first off, you were with him in 97 in Florida. And I remember when you got traded in 07 to the Tigers, Leland called me at my house because I had played with the Tigers in 06 and we were both living here in Pittsburgh. And he's like, hey, we got him. We got Sheffield. He's like, he go, pretty good bat, huh? He just kept saying to me, like, always Skip, pretty good bat, huh? We got a pretty good bat. We got one. I'm like, yeah, Skip, I just said 10 times. I think it's a great bat. Like, but his respect for you was phenomenal. Like when he was talking to me, I'm like, man, I was like, I can't wait to play with Sheff because if Leland feels this way about Sheff, I can't wait to have him as a teammate. Can you talk about Jim Leland, and what he meant to you in your career, both in Florida and in Detroit?
Well, he basically changed my whole mentality about being a leader. That's when I started understanding leadership. I just thought that you play the game, hard. Guys will look at you and follow you, but it's more to leadership than that. And I remember we get there in '97. They hired Jim Leland. I was so happy about that because I was got tired of the losing. And he put his arm around me the first day of spring training. They got a card out with me and him on a baseball card, and I always cherish that card. And he said to me, people always want to know what he was saying to me. And that's when he was talking to me. He said, this team is only going to go far as you take it. And I really didn't know what that meant because I just hit 42 home runs, hit 314, drove in 120 some runs. So if I got to do more than that, I got some work to do.
I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble.
So basically, he told me that no, it's bigger than that. You have to lead these guys. You have to get them to believe that you're going to win. And he said that, and I believe in you. And so what I want you to do is I want you to be the best player in every baseball series we play. If we're playing Barry Bonds, I want you to be better than Barry Bonds. If we're playing Manny Ramirez, you got to be better than their best player. And I said, no problem. I can do that. And so when he did that, he became like a father figure to me. And basically guys gravitated to me. And I had a routine that I would go to stretching sometimes and sometimes I don't. I don't even want to step on the field until the first pitch is thrown. It's just a mentality that I had. And it's a mental game that I used to play with myself. And my teammates was questioning why I ain't come to stretching one time. And Jim Leland stood up for me. He told me, it's been rumors going around and some whistling that y'all talking about Gary not coming to stretching. He said, when y'all start hitting 300 and hitting 40, driving in 120, then y'all can bring that shit to my desk. He said, otherwise, get your ass out there to stretch and get ready for the baseball. And so when he did that, he was like my all-time favorite. But it was wonderful.
Well, that's what I love about him because, he was always like, listen, the rules don't apply to everybody.
No,
if you're Gary Sheffield, you're Ken Griffey Jr., listen, you put up the numbers, you stretch whenever you want to stretch. As long as you're putting up the numbers, he didn't care. That's what I loved about him.
Right. And the thing about that was, I was hurt in 97 when we won the World Series. I had tweaked my back. I had ran into a wall and my neck and down my back, it was just like pinching the whole time. And I couldn't swing the way I wanted to. But Skip called me in the office and he told me, I don't want you mentioning this to anybody. I don't want you mentioning your injury. And he told the team, but don't mention his injury because he was using me as that shield to draw the walks, get the timely hitting, do the small thing. And that's why he brought over the Moses Alou, the Bobby Benitez, and they brought over those guys to pick up the slack if I couldn't get it done. And so that's what I did. I was that guy that did all the little things. And then by the time it came end of the season, I started feeling healthier. And that's why I had a great playoff in World Series.
Yeah. What was so great about that team, Sheff? You know what I mean? Like, you had some superstars on that 97 team. Like, what was so good about you guys and find a way to finally win that Game 7?
Well, I think most guys, we all loved each other. There was a close-knit team. You can't – everybody's not going to like everybody. But for that team, we knew how the guys that was like outcast, we knew how to bring them into one goal and one mission. That's to win. And so despite your differences or whatever you feel, we're trying to win. And we have to win because Wayne Huizenga had mentioned to us in April that he was going to dismantle the team, regardless if we won or lost. And so we said that we might as well go out the right way and go out here and win for the city. And that's all our goal was. And when we went out there, that was the whole mission, is to win for the city.
Wow. And you guys did, man. I think you beat one of the best teams in baseball. That 97 Indians teams was loaded. But then, when it went to Game 7 and you guys won, I was like, well, looks like they were a little more loaded. When you go back, you got Leiter and Kevin Brown and Rob Nen, Bonilla, Alou. I mean, it was ridiculous. There were some superstars on that 97 Marlins team. Absolute superstars.
It was. I watched how it got built. From 93, we didn't have a good team. 94, same. All the way to 96, and we didn't have a good team. And when the strike happened, we had traded for in 94. The strike happened. We had traded for Marquise Grissom and Hill, and that got voided because of the strike. And so we was trying to figure out what are those pieces that we're going to bring in to replace those guys. And that's when they brought in the Kevin Browns. They brought in the Lighters. They brought in the Devon White, Moses Alou, Bobby Bonilla. And when they did that, our whole team changed overnight. And I remember something, and I tell people this all the time. Maybe I was just, one day if I ever managed, that's what I was looking at, or GM or owner or whatever the case may be. I know how to assemble a team. And I remember Jim Leland back in December talking to Dave Dombrowski about assembling this team. And I think it was either January or December, somewhere in there. They was talking about 3 left-hand pitchers. And nobody understood why he had to have 3 left-hand pitchers. His whole goal was to get out Barry Bonds. Wow. And it started before the season started. We're going to get to this point, and we're going to see this guy. And we look at the stats that he has against these 3 lefties, and they're not good. So I want these 3 guys just for him. And and when I go back and look at it, it all works exactly like he played it out.
Isn't it crazy how, these guys that have been in the game for so long, they have a rhyme or reason. They fast forward and go, no. We're talking about facing Barry Bonds in October throughout the year. That's crazy. What a story, man.
That's why I knew Jim Leland was all about winning. He was preparing this a long time ago. And then in other situation, when we was teammates, he made a call. I'm on the bench getting ready to go hit and go on deck. He's telling me right then, when you get on third base and whoever's on first base, if the guy try to pick him off at first, still home. And I'm like, I haven't even got up yet. And guess what happened, Case? I'm on third, I'm on first. And I'm creeping off. I said it's going to happen because Skip said it's going to happen. And I'm walking off. He picks off. I take off running, no throw.
Oh my God, dude, that's
Jim Leland.
That is so great, man. That is so awesome. Oh my God. So Sheff, bro, after you head out from the Marlins, they dismantle that thing. Huizenga says, I'm not selling enough cars. We got to get guys out of here or whatever. So off you go to L.A., right? You get traded to L.A. for Mike Piazza, right? Which was interesting because he wasn't.
Todd Zeal, yes.
And Todd Zeal. But you go out to L.A., bro, and you have some monster years out there. I think 4 or 5. What were you? You were in L.A. from what? 98 to 01, and you raked out there. I mean, kind of went to another. Even if you could go another level, but you kept the consistency that you were doing.
Right.
What was it like playing in LA? And like, did you ever, like, you being a superstar player during that time in your career? What did you ever get caught up into the Hollywood scene? And was there anyone out there that, like, any Hollywood people you met and you're like, that was cool to meet that guy?
Well, I met a lot of guys out there, Denzel Washington, Cedric the Entertainer. I go with a small group. I don't hang out with a lot of people because, I keep my circle small. But the thing was, I never got caught up in the Hollywood life. I was always grounded. I was always a guy that keep to himself, and I was about playing. I was about my craft. Get my job done. And so I knew a lot of people relied on me. It's a bigger responsibility than most people think. When you're a good player or a great player, people start respecting certain things about you, and not only respecting, they expect things out of you. And so now you have to lead a whole locker room, because if you don't get it done, and if you walk around with your head down, they're not going to get it done. They're going to walk around with their head down. So, like I said, Jim Leland taught me about leadership, and I just tried to take leadership out there as well as my game.
Wow. Well, you did, dude. You dominated LA, and then you get traded to Atlanta. Yeah. And I know, I look back at your career. You played for a lot of great managers, but the guy in Atlanta, Bobby Cox, man, I used to love Sheff. I used to love playing first base, and he'd be like, "Hey, what's up, Case?" I'm like, "Hey, Bobby." First pitch of the game, he'd be like, "Oh, where the hell's that pitch?" I'm like, "Jeez, this guy." I'm like, Bobby's on these umpires from the jump. You know what I mean? Yeah. But what was it like playing for Bobby, man? He just, from a visiting player looking in that dugout, going, "Man, I think that'd be a great guy to play for."
Well, I'm going to say this, Case. I never said this in an interview in my life, and a lot of people don't understand certain things about me. And that's unintentional. I intentionally do that. But the point is that I've always played in a conflicted way, because I was a hired gun, and so I resented that as a baseball player. And I'm just being honest. I resented it. Because, when people talk about what means something, playing on one team, the only team he ever played on means something, but you take that away from me because I do my job, but you still take it away from me. And so the point is that I was always in a situation, like I say, always in a lose-lose. If I play great, I'm trade bait. If I don't play great, I'm finished. So it's like I always felt like I could have did 10 times more than what I did on the baseball field, but I was always playing on the conflict. And playing on the conflict, you can't give somebody everything. And you can't go in the bag and get something that's deeper in that bag. I had a lot of things in that bag I could have went and got, but I just ain't had a desire to do it.
Yeah. Sheff, do you feel like at times you were misunderstood? Because like I said, for us that were in the clubhouse with you, we're like, man, that's one of the best teammates you ever play with. But then you bounced, you got traded from team to team. Do you feel like, man, I wish I would have played for one team for 15 years?
Yeah. I mean, I could have played for the Marlins for 12 years before I was a free agent, because I signed 2 contracts and I didn't play one game on my second contract, and I had a no-trade clause. So you don't get credit for waiving your no-trade clause to accommodate the team to go to the Dodgers. They didn't appreciate that either. But then when I get there, you want to pay guys more than me. And so the bottom line was I wasn't asking to change anything out. They asked me, would I want to be a Dodger for life? And I said yes. And so when negotiations started, don't promise something and pull it back, especially when I'm your best player. And so when those type of things happen, of course you get misunderstood. Because why? Because the media is going to spin it in a way to protect the team and not the player. And so I come off looking like the greedy player. I come off looking like the guy that's not, conforming to what they're trying to do. But the truth of the matter is, I've always tried to work with the organization. Even on my second contract, I told the Florida Marlins to go out and get all the players you want to get, and I'm about to be a free agent. I'm not going to sign a contract till I know you got all the players in place and they're paid, and I'll get my money later. That's how we got that team in '97 to win. When we got all those players, that's when I signed my contract. So I was never selfish on contract because I could have signed a 1-year deal my whole career and just been fine.
Right. Wow, that's amazing stuff, man. Amazing. What about some of the guys you played with in Atlanta? Oh, I got a great story. First off, I just popped into my head, dude. People ask me to this day, hey, you know who used to hit the ball the hardest? Blah 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 blah. I mean, right away, I'm like, Gary Sheffield. And dude, I swear to God, I've had this conversation with a lot of big league players, and your name pops up right away. Gary Sheffield hits the hardest ball ever. We're in, I think it was 2003. We're in Atlanta, and I believe I'm holding a guy on at first, and you came up and you got that waggle going. I'm like, oh, somebody's. I was scared to death at first. Like he might hit one to me at first here somehow, you know, with the rocket. Yeah, it was that. I'm done, dude. Do you remember that? Do you remember that ball you hit against us where you hit to left field and it looked like Adam Dunn was playing in at third?
Yeah, I remember. Well, when I hit it, I said, "Oh, he better get out of the way of that one." Because when I tell you, okay, I was on a mission at that particular time, and I told the Braves. Because when I went over there, I asked them for an extension because I didn't want to change teams after that. I said, I want this to be my last team. And they said no. I said, so why won't you give me a contract to make me retire as a Brave? He said, well, we can't pay anybody more than Chipper Jones. I said, what, you saying Chipper Jones is better than me? They said, no, we're not saying that. I said, I know you're not saying that. Because I'll correct you real quick. Like so from that conversation, I took that all personal. And so every time I saw that baseball, I wanted to hit it as hard as I could because I wanted to send a message. And this particular game, I was hot during that week. And y'all had a pitcher that kept coming inside on me. I said, okay, I'm going to show him now. And so he came inside, and I mean, when I tell you, Case, I backspin this ball, the hardest ball I ever hit in my life. And that's two hardest ball I ever hit. I hit Caminiti in the ankle at third base.
Did you?
Yeah.
What happened on that one?
If Caminiti can't get a glove on, it was hit hard. So it hit him on the ankle. But this ball here might have been the hardest I ever hit. I mean, he's playing left field, and I hit this ball with backspin. So he was thinking, come in on it or run back. So he chose to run from it. And it hit the ground and hit him upside the
head. He did. That was the first time I ever seen a left fielder start retreating on a ball. Thing was coming at him. It was screaming like, ah! And then Dunner went back. It hit off his shoulder and like ricocheted. Yeah. It was unbelievable. To this day, and what's so funny, it wasn't a home run. It wasn't this. It was just a rocket line drive to left field. And to this day, I tell people, they're like, what's the hardest ball you've ever seen? I said, you're not going to believe this. It wasn't a home run, but Gary Sheffield hit a ball in 2003 off Adam Dunn's shoulder in left field.
Yeah, and every time we have a former Red on, that is consistently every one of them that comes on is like, remember when Sheffield hit Dunn in the chest?
But it's true, though. It's true.
It's so great, dude. Oh my God, it's so great. So Sheff, from Atlanta, and now are you your own agent at this time? Are you negotiating your own deals? Now, do you think
actually it started when I was with the Dodgers. Scott Boras said they promised me a contract, so I let Scott Boras handle it. He couldn't get it done, and they played games with me and lied to me for 2 years. And I told them I would never wear your uniform again. So they allowed me to find a team that would trade for me. I said, well, that's easy. I'll find a team. So I called the Braves. Frank Wren was my GM. He was an assistant GM when we won the World Series. So I called Frank Wren and told him, hey, I can, you guys make a trade, I can come to the Braves. That happened in 24 hours. And so now that's when I fired Scott Boras. I said, I can do this myself. I don't need you to do this because you can't do nothing for me at this point. And so I did my own contracts from that point on.
And do you think do you think there was contention with the clubs because they're hearing your voice and they're not hearing an agent's voice? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, of course, because you got to hear all the negative about why they don't want to pay you certain things. And that's like going to arbitration as a player. That's if you don't have thick skin, you don't want to hear about the arbitration.
Yeah.
They don't want to tell you what you can't do.
Yeah.
So, being an agent, that's all I kept hearing, what I can't do. But then my message as an agent is, I can't take nothing personal. It's just business. And then the bottom line is that you only work what you negotiate. And so they tried to lowball me plenty of times. I know they colluded against me when I went to the Yankees. That was collusion. I know that for a fact because you can't hit 339, 39 home runs, 130-something ribbies, 168 walks, and somebody offer you $2 million more than what you're already making. And every team was consistent on that same number. That's colluding. So I knew that then, and they knew that. Yeah. So,
that collusion stuff, I'm like, man, these guys get together as a player. You're like, man, I can't believe that all the contracts that I'm being offered me are about the same. So, they can't,
colluding.
It's colluding. Yeah, exactly. So when you went to New York, and you obviously have to, you're your own agent now, and you're negotiating a contract. Did you talk to Steinbrenner yourself?
That's the only guy I talked to because see, the Yankees was in line colluding as well. Right. with the $8 million offer, which will be a $3 million pay cut. So why would I take a pay cut when I just put up these numbers? So it's colluding. And so I went to the boss. I've known George my whole life growing up here in Tampa. And he told me, well, I told you I always wanted you on my team. I said, well, you pay me like you want. You know what I mean? So I said, you got a bunch of guys making $20 million on this team ain't better than me. I said, I'm the best player you got on your team that's not on it yet. And so that's how we started talking. And so they offered me a deal. I agreed to the deal. When I showed up at the spring training site, they had them switched the numbers around thinking I wouldn't know. And I walked out the room and I wouldn't sign the deal. And then the next day, Steinbrenner got involved. He flicked out all the lights on all the guys who was negotiating the contract. And I walk in, it's dark in there. And I'm like, why the lights off? They told us not to come out the room until this deal is done. And we can't turn on the lights until it's done.
Wow. Oh, man. That is so cool.
Hey, Sheff, what was he like? What was Steinbrenner like for all of us that don't know him? What was he like?
He was the most charitable guy you would ever meet in your life. If there was a need, Sean, and anything in your life, family, friends, whatever, and if it meant that much to you, if he respected you, he would be there for you. And one thing that I always tell people, it's an easy relationship to have if you be true to yourself and you be real with George. He would come at you in an aggressive way. And if you back down, he don't respect you. And he don't want no players on his team like that. And so that's one thing he knew about me. I didn't care who he was. I'm going to say what I had to say and do it how I was going to do it. And so that's what he respected about me.
That's great, dude. He had he had the right guy for negotiations. He probably was like, I can't wait to negotiate with Sheffield. At least he's gonna tell me what the hell he really thinks. You know what I mean?
Right. In case, I'm gonna tell you a story happened in New York.
Yeah.
And now me and George had a deal we struck on our own, a side deal. It was more money. It was a couple $1 million. And I told him I'm gonna win MVP. I said, I'm going to win MVP because everybody say, oh, you on this team, you can't win MVP. He's not going to put up these numbers in New York. I said, I'm going to put up better numbers. I said, I'm going to predict my numbers before the season starts. And he said, you're that good? I said, yeah, I'm more than that. and so I put up the numbers and we set out. We was up about 7 games in September So we had the division wrapped up. So we didn't play all that much in September. I'm locked for MVP. Vladimir Guerrero, the last game of the season, gets his team in the playoffs. They tried to convince people that Vladimir Guerrero was the MVP because he got his team in the playoffs. Well, who do you think got their team in the playoffs? That was
Right,
you see,
close.
and you see, that was this guy. And so when they gave him the MVP, me and George had this deal worked out. So in spring training, he had to write me a $3 million check. And so basically, George was getting a little sick. And so the organization was trying to keep me away from him. But a deal is a deal with me. So one day I come in, I go to the training room because they wouldn't let me see him. I go to the training room, I lay on the table with my clothes on. They say, well, what's wrong with you? I said, my back hurts. And they said, where? I said, right there. They said, take your shirt off. I said, I can't. I said, you take it off. They took off my shirt and they said, okay, well, you're going to have to do like a rehab with this. I said, I can't. Everything they told me to do, I can't. Lift your leg, I can't. Lift your arm, I can't. So by the third day, they got the message. I was going to do this every day and not wear that uniform until you did what you said you was going to do. So finally, I got my way up to ESPN came in, and they thought I was playing. Went in the training room, back hurting, same thing. Cashman came in, what's going on? Why won't you go on the field? I said, until I talk to George, I will never wear this uniform again. And he said, well, what are you going to do? Quit? I said, if I have to, I'll quit. Like that. So now they take me upstairs. I get with George, and I tell George, I say, you remember that $3 million you owe me? He was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, it's time to cut the check. So he cut the check. He cut the check. I called my people. Okay, everything is wired. Okay, now let's put the uniform on and go out here. I hit 2 home runs that day.
Did you really?
Wow. That's amazing.
My back's feeling great. My back's feeling great.
And then all the media go, I guess your back's feeling fine. I said, yeah, it's feeling great now.
And Sheff, even with that, was it weird for you to not be the most controversial player on a team? I mean, during that time was crazy. Arod stuff was all over the place and stuff, you know?
Yeah, but the thing is that I did a lot of that stuff to take the pressure off a lot of the players. And I knew that a lot of guys couldn't handle certain things. And anything you throw at me, you can get me at my most embarrassing moment. You can't embarrass me. And so it's one of those things. If I'm guilty of something, I raise my hand. I did it. But to me, I'm just a realist, man, and that's all I know. But at the end of the day, you know, I'll give my teammates anything they ask me for and do anything they need me to do, and that's just how I was.
Well, bro, I got a quick story with that. You know, you 07, you're coming to the Tigers. I get a call from, I believe it, I can't remember who called me, but they said, hey, listen, Gary Sheffield, he wants your lock. He wants to have 2 lockers, and he's like, he wants to offer you a Mercedes-Benz. I'm like, what? Yeah. This is the greatest offer I've ever had in my life. You kidding me? And I said, are you serious? He's like, yeah, Sheff's dead serious. As a respect, and was like, as respect to you, he'd like to give you for his locker. I said, no. I don't need the Mercedes-Benz. I should have taken it now, Sheff. I'm like, shit, I should have taken that Mercedes. But back then, I'm like, all right. And then I remember you saying, Case, what do you want? I was like, oh, just give me, you bought me 2 laptop computers. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing the podcast on one of those laptops, bro. So I still owe you.
You're a humble guy, man. You could have had a Benz, man.
I know. What an asshole. What asshole turns down a Mercedes-Benz and says, just give me a Mac computer. You know
what? Okay. You know what, though? When they told me you wouldn't accept, you know, I had the utmost respect for you that more than you ever would know. Because people it ain't too many people like that, and it's not too many people like you. And when you did that just told me everything about you.
I appreciate it, man. And dude, I was very honored that you just would think of it like that to do that. But no, I was very honored to play with you, Sheff, bro. Like one of my favorite years ever, and I still to this day one of my favorite teammates ever. And I'm so grateful for that. I still remember coming out the gates in April. I was scuffling so bad. I couldn't hit water if I fell out of a boat. I was like, God, why do I suck so bad, you know? And I remember you came down to the cages. I was hitting early with Lloyd and dude, you like were like, hey, Case, can I talk to you? I was like, yeah, what's up, Sheff? He's like, listen, man, you seem a little anxious at the plate, you know, and then you were like, you know, try to do what I do and just be relaxed at the plate. And I'm thinking, shit. I was like, I thought that was the opposite of what you were trying to do. I was like, Sheff, I've been watching you all these years. It looks like you might be having a seizure at the plate and then hit a rocket in the gap. But it's so funny because you were right. Your trigger was your relaxation. There was and I always appreciated that. And I started to get things going, and I'm like, wow, man, like for Gary Sheffield to come over, grab me, and be like, hey, man, why don't you try it like this? And that meant a lot, dude.
Well, okay, the baseball is totally different in basketball and football because Brady gets to hold the ball every snap. LeBron James can bring the ball down the court every time. If you just relying on me, one guy, to win a baseball game, it's not going to happen. We need everybody, because when it may be an important part of the game or not an important part of the game that you may contribute that now I can finish off later, or if that don't get done, now I got to do both. And so it's just a lot when you're talking about for a baseball player because we're not always in the situation to win the game for our team because our time is not up. We have to wait our turn to hit. So that's why I tell people don't judge baseball players like you judge LeBron James and Brady's and things like that. You have to look at us as that, what opportunities we're given. And that's the only way you can judge baseball players.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that, man. I love that.
Let me ask you something, Case. I got this here, and I've been throwing it around to people, and they love it.
Yeah,
I said that the baseball needs to make a couple. I think that how they not that they have the DH in there now that it's a mute point, but I said eliminate the pitcher a long time ago, and I said you should be able to eliminate 2 hitters per game. So if once you hit and you go around the lineup, after the 4th inning you can eliminate 1 hitter. After the 6th inning, you can eliminate 2 hitters. That way, if you eliminate 2 hitters, now instead of having 9 hitters, you got 7. So every inning, your best 3 players are always going to be hitting 2nd, 3rd, or 4th. 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, all the rest of the game. And so we're going to be the people pay to see us play. So we're always in the deciding parts of the game. Then when you talk about extra innings, to speed the game up, you got 7 players, and you're either going to be 3rd, 1, 2, or 3, or 4, 5, and 6. And then you got that 7th guy. Now, when the lineup turn over for the extra inning, you get to put the lineup however you want. And now get your best players up there to do it. That's fun. I think that will show who's the most clutch player is.
Oh, dude, and talk about, nowadays, the fans want to see more excitement in baseball. Now you got the best players.
Yes.
You get to see the Gary Sheffield. He comes up again and again and again.
Wouldn't you like to see Mike Trout get 6 or 7 at bats?
Yes.
Oh, heck yeah. Yes.
You see,
yes.
So I know I would pay to watch it. I mean, the game is about the fans. It's about excitement of the people. And if the people are excited about watching your game, who cares about, it's not played the conventional way, but you're still playing a baseball game. But we're eliminating guys. Every guy in the major leagues matters. But we all know, Case, that sometimes you don't want to see your 7th, 8th, 9th hitter coming up in the game when Mariano Rivera is coming in the game.
Yeah, it's over. It's over.
It's over.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
That's it.
It's so true. Sheff, what about some of the stuff that they've done nowadays in the game, like running on second with extra innings, the bullpen stuff that they were doing the last couple years with or they're doing now, where you have to pitch to 3 guys Do you and they're talking about a pitch clock? They're talking about making the bases bigger. Do you like the things that they're doing, or
I like
what's your feeling on that?
Bases bigger because if it was, I wouldn't have never broke my wrist in New York. When the guy clipped me at first base. But
right.
I don't like having a reliever or left-hand reliever come in and have to face 3 batters. I don't like that. It's a special. He's called a specialist for a reason. So now, when you take that definition away, now that guy might be out the game in 2 years because there's a lot of pitchers that if they had to pitch the 3 batters, then a lot of pitchers wouldn't even be pitching to this day. And so and instead of me having to face this tough righty coming out after he just pitched the 1 batter. Now I got this tough righty. I get to face this lefty. It can change the game in a lot of ways too. So that one I don't care for too much.
Yeah, that's it. That's a great point. That's a great point. Now, Sheff, what about you? For you personally, towards the end there, when you played in Detroit 07, 08, then you end your career with the Mets,
right?
And but for that 500th home run. Can you take us back to that home run and what that meant for you?
Actually, every time I have my family fly out, this is going to be the day. It never happened. It was getting expensive. It was getting really expensive, man. And so what I did, I said, you know what? Let's just make it a normal thing. My wife and kids only, and a lot of people like, man, I took off from work. Man, I gotta go back to work. So I said, go back home. You can watch it on television. It's going to happen. I just don't know when. Because I was stressing at the beginning. And this particular day, we playing the Milwaukee Brewers. And in my mind was blank because I wasn't starting that day. And I'm just thinking maybe I'll get a at-bat or something. And when the game was going on, I started seeing, okay, this may be relying on me to come in this game. And then I saw them bringing a left-hand pitcher. I said, I know I'm going in this game. So I went down in the cage, started swinging. And when I started swinging, I felt good. I was like, man, because I had just got released by the Tigers that spring. So I was out of shape. I wasn't really in baseball condition to play because I just stopped. I just said I was going to retire with 499 home runs. I thought that was
you were going to do that? You were going to do that?
I thought that would have been cool.
That's not cool. That's not cool. That's not cool.
I thought it would have been cool. I was like, let me stop at 499 and go. I don't care about numbers. You know what I mean? And so, but then, a couple teams calling for me and whatever. So my wife was like, just go back out and do it. The kids want to see it. So I went out there and I get in the game. I'm not even, my mind is so blank. I'm not even realizing this is the first team I ever played for, is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Oh, my gosh, that's
never
right.
dawned on me. Never thought about it. And so I go out there, and I put on this at-bat. I think it was like a 8, 9, 10 pitch at-bat.
Battle.
I don't remember. How many?
It was a battle. It was 8 or 9 pitches, and I got a follow-up to this after.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I was so tunnel vision at that time. I just knew it was going to happen. And when I fouled the first ball back, I said, I'm hitting a home run this time. And then it was just like an ongoing battle. He made some tough pitches on me, and I fought it off. And I could see the frustration on his face that, how did he foul that ball off to this old man? And this and that. So, but then all of a sudden, Sean, like most pitchers, he made the biggest mistake because now he just didn't want to walk. Right. And they make mistakes when they do that. Right. And they threw it right in my happy zone. And when I hit it, I looked at it, and when I saw it out, all I can think of was my grandfather. Wow. And that was it. That's all I can think of. I just wish he was living to see it. And he told me a long time ago that I had inside power and that I operate, different than most people. And he said that it's greatness he knew I was going to be great at 8 years old, and he said that to me, and that's all that came to my mind.
Wow.
God.
Wait,
What-
so real quick, Case.
Wow.
So, Sheff, I'm sorry. So 2 pitches before you hit the home run, you hit a foul ball down the third baseline.
Yes.
My wife caught it.
Oh wow!
I shit you not. She's a lifelong
That is awesome.
Mets fan. You were her favorite player. We didn't know each other yet at the time, but she's like, "You're having Sheffield out." She threw this at me today, and she's got a good arm.
Wow.
This is the foul ball you hit right before your 500th homer. So I'm gonna get your
I'm
address.
looking at
I'm
the
sending
ball.
this to you. What's
I'm
up?
looking at the ball because I knew you could see that seam. It
Yeah.
looked like it's like a little chip on it.
Yup, right here.
Oh, yeah.
I could have sworn he threw me a pitch, and I said, "Man, he might be scuffling." that
Oh my
ball."
God, you might be right. You're totally right. Case, look, it's scuffed.
Oh my God! Sheff,
Oh,
are you
shit.
serious? You
Yes.
This is
He
it. This
threw me
is
a
the ball.
pitch. Just in case, I swear to you, he threw me a pitch. I was like, "Man, he's scuffing this ball."
Oh my God.
Every chance I tried to get him to throw the ball out, but that pitch there was a new one.
Look at that. Holy shit. Oh my God, I can't wait to tell her this story. That's awesome. Isn't that crazy?
That is awesome.
see, Chinch, it worked out. You had a ball from Sheff, and now we got a good story out of it, which is big
That's
time.
right.
Holy shit. Holy shit.
Sheff. So you get to 500 home runs. You went to 9 All-Star games. I like to look back. I went to 3 of them. You went to 3 times as many as me because you were 3 times as better player than I was. But that's a whole nother story.
Right.
9 All-Star games, bro. Is there one of them that sticks out to you, or a moment that sticks out to you?
Yeah, I think it was 93 or 90, no, maybe 94 in Baltimore. Was that 94 or 95? One of those.
Yeah.
I know the All-Star game was in Baltimore.
No, it was 93. It was 93, I think.
Yeah, 93. I get traded over to the Marlins, and I make the All-Star team, and I'm the first Marlin to do that. And it was a big deal. You know, in franchise history, it's a big deal. Denzel Washington walks in the locker room, and I'm like, this is probably the coolest All-Star. You know, he's always been my favorite guy. And we're talking, and I said, man, I got to put on a show. And what the greatest compliment that ever was paid to me, I never forgot it my whole career until I played for him, and I mentioned it to him. When Bobby Cox hit Barry Bonds second and hit me third, that's like the biggest compliment to me. Because for me, I said nobody dethroned me off of hitting third. And he put me in the 3 spot, and I said, I got to pay dividends. And lo and behold, Bobby knew what he was doing, because once again, everybody was scared of Barry Bonds. They walked Barry Bonds, and I wound up hitting a home run in that All-Star game. My first
Oh
ever.
my God!
Yeah, off of Mark Langston.
Wow.
And I would have been the MVP if Kirby Puckett wouldn't have hit the game-winning home run. But I would have been the MVP of that All-Star game. But that was the moment to me that it told me what somebody thought of me. You know, you hit Barry Bonds second and I hit third.
Wow, man, that is so cool. That is so cool, man. It's amazing, bro, like how your brain works and the confidence that you had as a hitter. Like when you telling Steinbrenner, hey, I'm going to go win the MVP this year, and you should have won it in 2004. You should have won the MVP with 36 homers, 121 ribbies. But it's so funny, like, and then you're like, oh, Bobby Cox hit me third over bombs. I'm about to go dominate. There's a home run for the start off the game. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. And that's why you're one of the best ever. That's that mentality. Not everyone has that mentality. Not everyone could do that day in and day out and show up the way you did.
Well, that's what I meant about when I was telling you I can go deeper in my bag to go do some really special things. But just because of the way I was treated, it was like it was a blockage. It was something that would block me from digging deeper, because it was like, you guys, you if you really got to know me, you would do all I'm asking you to do, and the things that you're gonna get in return. I was always saying that to myself, but I said, you know what, just go out and do your job and keep it moving.
Yeah,
and that's how I went about it.
Well, it worked, man. Like your mentality and do you ever feel like because you were, you went from team to team at times, there was a couple chips on your shoulder. You played with those chips?
Well, yeah, you have to. I mean, the bottom line is that you ain't gonna never win over me on a trade. So most people try to say Trevor Hoffman made the Hall of Fame. They won that trade. Trevor Hoffman may have 50 saves, but I'm playing every day.
Every day.
So the bottom line is it worked out for the Padres and it worked out for the Marlins. We both have World Series from it. The only difference is y'all allowed him to get in the Hall of Fame and y'all ain't put me in. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is every trade that anybody I've been traded for never outplayed me. They never won the trade. So that's something I can hold.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hopefully in these next couple years, the writers really take a look and wake up and look at Sheff's numbers and realize this guy's should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. We're here at year 9. So I hope that happens for you, Sheff. I really do, man. And
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'll be there hopefully when you go in. I'll be there. I'll be rude. They'll be like, "What the hell's wrong with Casey? He's freaking got a flag. He's got a Sheffield flag, and he's doing this."
Yeah,
so great, dude. Sheff, we end the show with something called 9 and 90. Chinch. It's just kind of a fun thing. Rich will ask me and you 9 questions. I answer first, you answer second, and then bam, we ride off into sunset. Okay, go ahead.
Problem.
Go ahead, Chinch.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame baseball broadcaster Marty Brenneman here. It's time for 9 in 90, the most ridiculous segment in all of sports.
And by the way, this is an honor. You're one of my favorite players of all time for all the reasons you just said, the way you carried yourself and everything. You're one of the greatest Yankees of all time, and I'm saying that as a fact. I'm for real. Yeah. All right, now let's get stupid. First one, Case. Would you rather be the world's strongest man or the world's fastest man?
Well, I was one of the slowest guys in big league history, so I think one of the strongest man. I'll just stay on that side of the street,
Well, you, Sheff?
I'd rather be the strongest man. I don't care for running too much.
Hey, when you hit him in the seats 500 times, Sheff, you can jog a lot,
Yeah. I got flat feet. I don't care for that running.
Okay. Second question. This is the second time I asked this to CC Sabathia once too, but I asked you guys: true or false, Sean? Al Leiter is the biggest close talker you've ever met in your life.
Oh, true, 100%. He's like in your face. Hey, Case, what are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, Jesus, Al, back up.
Yeah, I agree with him. Al Leiter's a little different. That's what I would
say. He certainly is. All right, tough one here. Tough one here. Eliminate one of these forever. You can never have it again. Mac and cheese or hot wings?
Oh, never. Oh, dude, I gotta have hot wings. Like it's a staple. Once a month, I gotta dig into them. So you can have the mac and cheese, man.
All right.
Oh, that's easy for me. I get rid of the hot wings. I got to have my mama's mac and cheese. Got to have it.
Nice.
I love it.
Awesome. All right, Case. If not baseball, would you have liked to have been a professional hoops player, football player, or golfer?
You know what? I wanted to be a hoops player back in the day, but then it turned out I couldn't run, jump, or dribble, and they're like, "All right, you just need to start playing baseball." So if I had the skills hoops, I would have liked to be a hooper.
Well, for me, I was better at football than I was baseball, and I was a running back. I wound up signing with the University of Miami to play both. But now that I'm playing golf, how cool would it be to walk around and make billions of dollars with a golf ball?
Right, on the beach. They're always on a beach somewhere.
For me.
All right.
Hey, Sheff, what are you shooting? Like, what's your handicap in golf?
Well, I play at a 12, but I shot a 76.
I love it.
All right, tough one here. You can only have one of these guys on your team this year. Ohtani or Trout?
You know what? As good as Trout is, Ohtani playing both sides of the ball. I mean, I got to go with Ohtani. We never see anything like it.
That's a no-brainer. You got to go with a two-way player over a one-way player, and I go with Ohtani. Man, he's quite the guy to watch.
Yeah, so great. All right, this is a fun one, Sean. eliminate yourself from this. Worst dressed teammate you've ever played with?
Worst dressed teammate. Let me think. Adam Dunn. Austin Kearns. Austin Kearns used to come on the plane with I'm like, bro, were we going to a hoedown or something? Like, what the hell's going on here? It's the big leagues.
Wow. Hey, well, for me, I got a whole bunch of those. But the one that used to get my attention was Chuck Carr. Chuck Carr.
Oh, really?
Oh my God.
Like, what would he wear? What would he wear, Sheff?
He would wear a leather jacket with his name all over it, and we're in 90-degree weather in Florida.
That's terrible.
I'm like, Jesus Christ.
That's great. That's so great.
Right.
One thing though, Chinch,
Yeah.
when Sheff got on the flight, you're like, that's the best dressed guy in the big leagues right there.
Sure.
You look good, you feel good, you play good.
Yeah.
Play good, exactly.
All right, a few more. Super tough one here. Better athlete, Bo or Dion?
Oh, wow. You know what? I have to say, Dion, just the fact that he played 10 years in the big leagues and 18 years, as the best corner ever, I don't know. I have to go with Dion just because of health.
It's tough.
That's a tough one, boy. Because the thing is, I know Bo can play everything, Dion can play everything, but I'm gonna have to give it to Bo only for this reason. Bo is a hell of a golfer. I have not seen Dion play golf.
There you go.
So that's the edge, right there.
All right,
That's the edge. Bo can golf. Bo knows golf, too. He knows golf.
All right, two more quick ones. One, in your next life case, you have the choice of being either a fisherman or a chef. Which do you choose?
You know what? I'm probably going to have to go with a fisherman because I think that would be fun to just be out in that water.
Yeah.
Well, I get to fish a lot being in Florida, but I have to say chef because I get less flack around the house because my wife won't tell me
You're already golfing. If you're golfing and fishing, you ain't never going to be in your house again.
Exactly.
He's
Enough
like-
time in a day, so I got to
Exactly.
my wife and family.
All right, last one.
great.
Last one. I need you both to answer this honestly. Case.
Okay.
Gary Sheffield walks out of that room right now and gets 162 at his age in this day. How many homers does he hit this year?
Oh, Sheff? I
Yep.
think Sheff could still hit 22 homers.
What do you got?
I'm not kidding you either. I actually think that.
That is absolutely true.
That video of you?
If I get 600 at bat, don't look at my batting average. Don't look at just like they doing now with
Yeah.
these kids, just looking at their batting average, no strikeout. I'll hit you 22 home runs.
There you go. One of the coolest things in the last 2 years was Gary Sheffield with a cigar in his mouth, hitting bombs in that YouTube video. That was awesome.
Not only that, I told my kids about hitting the ball out the right, center, and left. Just so happened on cue, my coach was throwing to me. I kept telling them to throw the ball inside, and I'm gonna show them how to hit it out of right field from the inside pitch. But he threw it away from me, so I had to hit it out the right field. Then he threw one in, middle in, and I hit that one out of center field. And then he almost hit me with the last one. And I had to turn real hard, and I wound up hitting that ball and hitting the people's house.
So awesome.
I look at it this way, Chinch. When you take a guy that had probably the best bat speed in baseball history, and you get him a couple years older, now he's an average bat speed. He's still gonna hit 25.
That never goes anywhere. Okay?
It never goes anywhere, yeah.
It's just, the only difference is now I'm wearing glasses.
I love it, Sheff. Oh, man, Sheff, this has been so much fun, dude. Catching up with you. It was great seeing you a couple weeks ago at Poppy's golf tournament, man. But what a pleasure, man, going down memory lane with you, brother. And like I said, that year in 07, man, I'll never forget that year playing with you, and I appreciate it, and I hope to see you here soon, brother.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Thanks for having me, guys. Anytime.
All right, Sheff. Thanks, man.
All right. Okay. Be good.
See, Chinch, that was awesome. And I told you, bro, like I'm telling you, for people that don't know Gary Sheffield, he's not going to let you in if he doesn't know you. And when he was in the clubhouse with, to a man, the guys that play with him, tell you, Sheff was one of the quietest teammates I ever had.
Yeah.
Kind of stuck to himself, did his thing. Dude, he was the guy, get your lunch pail and go to work every day and put up numbers and show up and be a good teammate. And he was the best.
Dude, I've actually, like I said, been in this industry a long time. That one wasn't intimidating for me. I was just a fan, though. I'm so excited. I meant everything I said. He is one of my favorite players I've ever seen put on a baseball uniform. And if he's playing for your team, it's almost like the Reggie Jackson thing. Like, you hate him if he's not playing. There is no question that man came to play every single day and win and beat you. And it was obvious. He cared so much, and it was so easy to root for him on your team because he was such a badass. That swing, there's maybe 5 swings in the history of baseball that are all-time swings, and I put his right up there with any of them. It was the scariest thing. We had Larry Boa talking about how we run down a baseline scared of him. He was just such a badass player, and he should be in the Hall of Fame. Shame on you, Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Let's get that right. At the end of the day, that's the bottom line. And, for me, like I said, man, to get Sheff too in this podcast, laughing and having a good time, like that's the guy I know. Like he was fun. He was, he respected, everyone in that locker room and everyone in that clubhouse. But what a good guy, but one of the best players of all time. Let's not sit here and sugarcoat anything. One of the best players of all time, and let's get it right and get him into Cooperstown.
Amen to that. Oh, well, thanks for doing that, man. It's so great to see your relationship with him. You guys just seem to have utmost respect for each other, and it was really amazing. That's a testament to you, too. The thing, by the way, I'll bring this up. The thing he said to you about how much he respected you, I almost brought a tear to my eye because you deserve that, and you're that kind of person. So
I appreciate it, Chinch, man. That meant a lot for me, for him to say that. That was really cool, man. And and for everyone out there that's listening to us, we appreciate you guys coming along. Hopefully we've been a good teammate to you as you've been to us. We're very grateful for it. Like us, subscribe, right, Chinch? Do all that stuff.
Everything. Do it all.
And because we want to keep delivering good guests to you guys and having a fun time and coming into the minds of some of the greatest players of all time into the clubhouse. And keep tuning in and keep sharing it with your friends. And let's get those numbers up. And Chinch, I'll see you Friday, brother.
Yes.
For the Fun Bag Friday.
Fun Bag Friday.
Man. All right.
Love you, buddy.
Have a good week, bro. I'll talk to you.